What up, world? It's your favorite manic pixie dream girl in her manic pixie dream world. And in today's video, I am here to talk about how to find yourself again after losing your marbles. Yes. So, you know, April is Autism Awareness Month and basically Neurodivergent Awareness Month. And yes, this applies to me. So let's get a round of applause to all of the neurodivergent baddies out there. Yes, we need to bring more awareness when it comes to mental health and neurodivergence. And I feel like, especially in regards to women, and especially in regards to Black women, because I feel like Black women and women in general, when it comes to like autism and neurodivergencies and being on the spectrum, just get totally overlooked. And I feel like it's just such a disservice to humanity because it's just not right. This is a sensitive subject, so as you can tell, I'm kind of nervous because I'm laughing and talking fast. But yeah, it's a sensitive subject, but I want to bring awareness to it because I have struggled with this like for my whole life since I was like a kid, right? And before I get into a little bit more of my lore and talking about that, let me pull up my notes. It's always been important to me to like embrace your true self and be yourself, but it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. So when I was younger, me and this old, I don't even want to call her a friend because this is what I'm saying. I'm gonna explain what I'm talking about. Because me and this associate that I used to hang out with all the time when I was younger, we used to play Mancala all the time, right? So how to find yourself again after losing your marbles? You pick them up and you play Mancala with them and you get back in the game. That's really all that you can do. That's really all that you can do. That's really all that you can do. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit of my lore, right? A little bit more of my lore. I had spiritual psychosis real bad. About probably at this point 2.5 years now. Because like I said, when you're born with neurodivergencies and you're just wired differently, neurologically, you think differently, you have different ethics and morals, it's just difficult to navigate this realm where everything that they preach and teach contradicts what's actually happening. So I was first diagnosed with ADHD when I was like probably like 9, something like that, because I couldn't focus. If I wasn't interested in the subject, I didn't really want to go to class and learn. And I was just bullied relentlessly. Like I was bullied relentlessly when I was younger, right? So it's just so many factors that can factor into mental health and neurodivergencies and stuff like that. So I have to start before I was born so you can get the picture. So in my family, on my mom's side, it's a lot of people that have like mental health problems and issues and stuff like that that just get overlooked. And it's not really brought to attention or talked about like that, which like I said, I feel like is doing more of a disservice than anything, because I feel like it needs to be talked about because we need to understand these things so we can get to the root of things and heal them. So that was already prevalent in my family on my mom's side, as well as like substance abuse problems. So sorry if you're my family member and you see this video, I don't mean this in any derogatory, hurtful, mean, shady way. I'm just trying to put this information out there because I'm trying to heal and I'm trying to speak my truth. And like I said, I feel like these subjects need to be talked about. So on my mom's side, right, I got an uncle. He was addicted to drugs. And then I had this other uncle on my dad's side. It's like he lived upstairs in the attic and never came outside, but then passed from like a diabetic stroke one day. On my mom's side, I have a great uncle. He is this white man. If you can Google this, it's crazy. Like, so back in like 1915, my great uncle caused something called the Brunswick Massacre. You can look it up, the Brunswick Massacre, right? And he basically, I guess somebody stole some money from him, and he just went to town on the town. It was like, brrr. Okay, so that's on my mom's side. And then it's just a lot of just traumas and stuff like that. And even before I was born, like I said, this is all just in my family history. It all ended up trickling down to me, generational curses and stuff like that and whatnot. So basically, my mom has substance abuse problems. And I highly believe that she had substance abuse problems herself because she's more than likely autistic or on the spectrum herself, right? But back in those days, it was way worse because, like I said, you know what I'm saying, it's just a whole bunch of factors. And this is why I feel like it's so important for us to talk about this as Black women, because it's hard to be like neurodivergent or different as a woman because society just tries to train you to be a certain way. And if you're not like that as a woman, if you're not pretty, if you're not feminine and charming and boy crazy and all of this other stuff, then they really like demonize you and will literally like attack you. I'm trying to tell you. So the thing with my mom is she more than likely autistic too. Okay, that's her story to tell. That's all I'm gonna say. But because of that and because of the pressures that she was experiencing growing up, you know what I'm saying? Because she grew up in the 60s. She was a very beautiful, light-skinned Black woman. You know what I'm saying? Very, very beautiful. She perpetuated those stigmas by playing into it and masking. So like in my mom's case, she chose to mask and highly mask and become beautiful and all this other stuff, right? But with her doing that, because that's the only way that, you know what I'm saying, she could survive back then because of racism and stuff like that, she started to then attack herself and abuse herself. And with her not understanding that, passed that on to me, right? So because of her neurodivergencies and stuff like that and her trying to fit in and survive and whatnot back in the day, she became highly masking and turned to substance abuse and turned to like wine and cough syrup and stuff like that to dissociate. So when I was born, right, my mom, I think she was like borderline diabetic. So she was like borderline diabetic. She gained a whole bunch of weight, and she had told me, like, the doctor told her, like, hey, you need to chill because something could be wrong with your baby, or something could go wrong with your baby if you don't lose this weight or if you get too sick. My cat is overstimulating me. You see how she keep rubbing up on me? I got irritated. You have to go sit down. Stop rubbing on me. So basically, the doctor's just like, yeah, you need to lose weight. You need to slow down eating because your baby can come out sick. So, like I said in one of my videos before, I was born, I think, on term because they didn't have like an estimated due date, but I was born on Christmas Day. So my parents was married Christmas Eve. My mom got pregnant, had a miscarriage, but then got pregnant again and had me on Christmas Day a year later. But I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, right? So on top of all of the mental illness and traumas and craziness that was already running in my family, on top of the substance abuse that my mom was doing in her like kind of like borderline unhealthy state, on top of all of that, I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, which caused me to have a lack of oxygen to my brain. So I had to like spend a few days in the NICU so they could make sure I was okay. But then when I was like looking up, you know what I'm saying, research and information about my condition in ADHD, a lack of oxygen in the womb can lead to neurodivergency. So I want to read this. This says research suggests a potential link between lack of oxygen to the brain, particularly during prenatal development, and an increased risk of developing ADHD. With studies indicating that children exposed to oxygen deprivation before birth may have a higher likelihood of developing the condition. This is often referred to as ischemic hypoxic conditions, where the brain is deprived of both oxygen and blood supply during pregnancy or delivery. So yeah, I strongly feel like that's where the ADHD came from. I came out like being strangled, like I couldn't breathe. And this is saying that when the brain is deprived of oxygen and blood supply during pregnancy, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It just messes up the wiring and whatnot. So that's what happened. And I struggled with that growing up so much because, like I said, there was not enough research or studies done on mental health and mental illness, the marker for like autism, up until now, basically, because everybody is coming out as like being late diagnosed or like autism, but like low needs. It's like I'm autistic, but it's like I can function by myself. So lost my train of thought. Sorry, brain fart. See, you know what I'm talking about? ADHD. But so yeah, I feel like I got the ADHD from being born, honestly. I was strangled, I couldn't breathe, they cut off my oxygen and the blood supply to my brain, and then that caused the neurodivergencies. But I just wish it was more research, because like I was saying, a lot of people are coming out as like late diagnosed now. And it's like, it's a lot of us out here. That's probably why I feel like it's so much just crime and hate and all of this other stuff, because a lot of people out here are really like low-key crying out for help that they're not getting. And what really bothers me about like this whole thing with mental health, when we talk about like autism and neurodivergencies, is that I feel like the world like idealizes autism, right? So I feel like the world idealizes autistic traits like the super sensitivity and the deep empathy and the caring and like the kind of like childlike wonder and the infantilization, right? So it idealizes those traits, but it confuses me because that's not how reality is. It's like people don't follow those traits, markers, suggestions. So like, for example, you know how like you start a new job and they have like the human resource classes, and you have to like and they have like the policies, like the standard of the conduct or whatnot, whatever, right? So I feel like the standard of conduct like idealizes like autistic traits, but people don't really give a fuck though. Like the world don't really give a fuck. Like, also love each other, respect each other, be patient, be kind. But I feel like in reality, humans just naturally ain't like that. And I guess that's why it's like a neurodivergency, because I take that shit so seriously and I take it too hard. I'm a type of person, like, what you see is what you get with me. I'm very blunt. I'm very honest. I say exactly what I mean. And it's not no like manipulation or charm. Like, no, I'm gonna straight up tell you. I'm gonna tell you the truth straight up. But people don't really like that. People claim, oh, tell the truth, be honest. But then when you tell the truth and you honest, then you get bullied and ostracized from society, especially as a black woman. So that's why it's so frustrating, because like I'm also the type of person, I would see that bumper sticker on the back of somebody's car, right, that'll say, if you can see this, honk. And I'll look at it and be like, you want to say hi. So then I'll honk the horn, honk, 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 and like, hey. But no, that bumper sticker is really saying, if you can see this, you're too fucking close. back up. It's not, it's sarcasm. So it's like a lot of little stuff and nuances I didn't pick up on until like after the fact. And this has just been happening my whole life, right? So like it's been so many instances to where people was just like being mean as hell to me or like shading me, and I didn't catch on to it until after the fact. Like, and then another thing that I do is like I ruminate on stuff a lot because it just hurts me. Like I'm just so sensitive. Like I take what people say to heart, and I feel like people just be, it's like, it's weird because I can't even fathom another way to exist other than this. But it's like people, like the average person, would be like, oh, you too sensitive, or you thinking too deeply into it. But I feel like I'm not. And I feel like that's where like the discrepancies come from, and that's why I be struggling. Because it's hard for me as somebody who's like neurodivergent, who's like prone to like overstimulation and being overwhelmed. It's hard to relate to people, especially when it comes to romance and dating. But we ain't about to get into that. Let's get into how to find yourself again after losing your marbles. So I was talking about how I had spiritual psychosis bad about a year ago because I had this other channel on here. I don't know, some of y'all might be subscribed to this new channel. But I have always been like the type of person growing up, been into psychology, astrology, spirituality, taking all the tests and quizzes and the personality quizzes. Oh, I figured out I'm an INFP. You know what I'm saying? Because I just have always felt so alienated and different. So I was taking all these different tests and quizzes trying to figure out what's wrong. Where do I fit in at, right? So the one thing about being like on the spectrum is that it's a gift. And I feel like it's different dimensions to this. So in this 3D reality, we'll call it pattern recognition. But in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm, I'm very intuitive. I'm very clairsentient. I'm very clairvoyant. And I have dreams that come true, or I'll have dreams that will tell me what people was really thinking and feeling about me, that will then play on, you know what I'm saying, later on. And eventually the relationship will suffer as a result. But I figured out what that is. That's linking back to the pattern recognition, right? Because like I said, I'll just be so oblivious because I'm just wired different, to where it's like I'm not thinking about the stuff that society is usually worried about. I'm over here daydreaming and daydreaming like 90% of the time. So people will be doing stupid stuff to like keep up with the Joneses and fit into society and doing all of this social hierarchy crap that I don't care about. So they'll be shading me, or they'll be like pretending to be my friend and be around me and be close to me, but don't really like me, or, you know what I'm saying, low-key just using me for my intuition, or, you know what I'm saying, however I can benefit them. So then later on down the line, because I just am not paying attention, you see what I'm saying, then I'll have a dream about what's really going on, and then that'll play out. I'm gonna tell you an example of that a little bit later on in the video. But I used to have a channel to where I used to do readings, right? And I kind of crashed out and deleted the channel because people started like bullying me. So it's like the people, I noticed that the people that like I was helping and giving the readings to started to like slowly turn on me. Because this is me going back to saying people don't really want the truth. Because I was never one of those readers to like I wasn't gonna lie. Like if I seen somebody was cheating or lying, I'm saying that straight up. I wasn't gonna sugarcoat it or nothing. But that approach, you see what I'm saying? That blunt approach triggered them. Even though I was right, even though I was respectful, even though my predictions were playing out, people started to slowly turn on me because people claim they want to be seen, but to a certain extent. You see what I'm saying? Because then they feel exposed, and then they feel too vulnerable. And when people feel too vulnerable, that's when they start to attack. So it's like nobody said nothing. Nobody asked if I was okay. They just quietly judged and had the nerve to demand like more of my gifts. And it's like, y'all not really caring. Y'all just really want the tea about what's going on behind the scenes, that you ain't neurodivergent, autistic enough, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, to pick up on. So it's like, I had to stop doing that because I was overextending myself, even though it's like I wanted to help, or I thought I was trying to help. I just couldn't do that no more. So I had to take a break from that. And I then created this channel. And this was a part of me finding myself again after losing my marbles, because it was just a whole bunch of stuff going on. So let's get into the first tip, right? So that was disappointing because I was putting so much energy into like my readings and trying to like help people and give them insight and advice so they could like heal and not be hurt anymore and grow. And it's just like, I just feel like people just slowly turned on me, because you can't force somebody to grow and heal until they're ready. And it was detrimental to me to keep trying to push that and be like that intertwined into their lives by doing readings when they didn't really care to. A lot of people just want to be nosy. And a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, may use your spiritual gifts and abuse them just to be nosy. Just, you know what I'm saying, to spy and see what's going on. And I feel like that's not the point of like any type of spiritual practice, whether it's a reading, whether it's going to church, Bible study, communion, whatever it is. You're not supposed to abuse that. So I found myself being abused and I crashed out and I had to stop doing it. So after I crashed out, I basically kind of returned back to factory settings, and I went on another quest to try to reclaim like my original self, right? So the first thing you want to do after you lose your marbles and crash out, okay, you have to be mindful. Mindfulness is very important. If you're on the spectrum, if you're neurodivergent, if you're an indigo child, if you just think that you're different, know that you're different, you have to be mindful. You have to stay locked in with yourself and your needs and your feelings at all times. At all times. Because the world is not going to cater to you and accommodate you. So you absolutely, no matter what, you absolutely have to cater to yourself and accommodate yourself. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to be mindful. And I feel like a lot of neurodivergent people and people on the spectrum are prone to like limerence and obsession, right? And fantasizing things. And that's where we get lost. And that's why we have to stay present and be mindful. Because a lot of times we fantasize as a way to dissociate from this reality that does not love us, that does not cater to us, that does not accommodate us, that does not think of us. You know what I'm saying? So we dissociate and we fantasize. But when we fantasize and get lost in our dreams and stuff, we're not paying attention to reality, and we can get blindsided by people trying to abuse us, right? So you have to be mindful, because people will try to manipulate you and charm you to do certain things. And apparently this is human nature. And this pisses me off because this is making me think of the book 50 Laws of Power or something like that. And it's like, I hate that book, because that book ain't doing shit but teaching people how to manipulate each other. Like, are you serious? Like, who got time? Like, who has time for all of these games? But people swear by this book as being so profound and important. I just cannot wrap my mind around it, literally. Because why are you reading a book that's teaching you how to trick people and lie to people and charm people and schmooze people. You see how I'm just so irritated? But it's like the average person will be like, oh, I need to read that book. Because those are the types of traits and things that I guess society deems as important to be successful and get ahead. But it ain't nothing but manipulation and abuse. It's like, why do we have a book called 50 Laws of Power? Like, why don't we have a book, 50 Laws of Love, 50 Laws of Kindness, Patience, Meekfulness? You see what I'm saying? So you have to be aware that people don't operate like you if you're neurodivergent. So you have to be mindful and present at all times, even when you're daydreaming. You just have to be mindful of what's happening right now in front of you. Okay? Just because someone includes or invites you does not mean you have to accept. Okay? You absolutely have to take who's going to be there, where is it at, how long, what's the vibe into consideration, and that's okay. You have to. You have to be aware of yourself. Be mindful. Like, yes, thank you. I finally got invited to something. But at the end of the day, who all gonna be there? Because I might get overstimulated. I might get stressed, triggered. You know what I'm saying? You just have to take yourself into consideration. And that's okay. Because this world, no matter what they preach, no matter how many commandments and testaments and books they put out, this world just naturally, I feel like, is not considerate. And that's probably why Moses got the 10 Commandments in the first place. That's probably why it's all these self-help books. It's probably why it's counseling and therapy. It's probably why all of these things, because human nature just ain't like that. And that's weird for me to think about, because it's like, for the longest, I'm like, it should be. It's like backwards. It's like inverted. It's like the way that the world is inverted. So the next tip that I have is slow down and stop trying to keep up. If you're neurodivergent, ADHD, autistic, you are wired differently. You may be low needs, you may be high needs, but you're wired differently. Your brain is wired differently. Your nervous system is more sensitive. So no, it's like in my mind and my body, I feel like fast. But you have to slow down, because when you slow down, you're able to remain mindful and be present with yourself. No, and I feel like no matter what society teaches and preaches, right? You cannot keep up with the Joneses. I don't care what society says. I don't care if they say you gonna be alone forever, bro. My old best friend, this girl told me, the girl I was talking about that I used to play Moncala with all the time. This girl, I remember this to this day, and I haven't talked to this bitch in over like 20 years, right? I remember to this day, she told me I'm gonna end up alone. She might be right. That's fine, but that's okay. No matter what people say, she ain't never gonna go nowhere. She ain't never gonna be nobody. She ain't never gonna have nobody. She gonna be alone. You still cannot force yourself to fit in and keep up. It's dangerous for you to do so. I will cry 100 rivers before I try to change myself and shrink myself to fit in ever again. When I was shrinking and trying to do the most to fit in, I was getting jumped, beat up, getting black eyes. So I will never again in my life. If you're neurodivergent, autistic, you are so much better off just staying out the way. Honestly, don't even do it. It's such a disservice to yourself. And I feel like that's why I'm on here making this video. We need more spaces and more communities for neurodivergent women and neurodivergent Black women. Because Black women, Black people are not a monolith. We aren't all hood rich, hood rats, whatever. We ain't all ghetto. Some of us are autistic too, okay? But I feel like it's no spaces for autistic Black people. So slow down. Stop trying to keep up. Change the pace you're going at. Slow down. Stop completely if you have to and move more intentionally. If you're on the spectrum, losing your marbles, trying to find yourself again and get back grounded, this next time, slow down. Move intentionally. This is why I got back into journaling, because when I journal, it helps me to move intentionally. Like I was saying, I already kind of function at a fast pace, and I find it hard to wind down because of that. Like when I go to sleep at night, it takes me a minute to go to bed and just kind of calm down and get to the space to where it's like, all right, I'm going to sleep now. I talk fast, I move fast, I walk fast. The wheels in my head are always spinning. In order to regulate, I need to slow down and stay in my own lane instead of trying to race to keep up with whatever else society is doing. And I do this like in real life. Like I do the speed limit. And it's another thing that pisses me off, because like the speed limit would be 70 and 60 in a slow lane. But people would be doing 80 and then be mad that you're doing the speed limit. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? Society does one thing even though the rules say this. And I guess that's another autistic trait, because it's like, why is there a rule in place if you're not going to follow them? I follow the rules. So instead of trying to keep up with society and go at 80, I'm over here, I'm going to do a nice little 65 in a slow lane. And I'm going to let y'all move around, because I'm not about to race to keep up with y'all, right? Because if I was to race to try to keep up with society, I'm prone to accidents. I'm prone to losing control of my car. I'm prone to flat tires. You know what I'm saying? I'm prone to burn it out, burning rubber. So it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay in my lane and go 65. Trends switch every day. It's something new going viral all the time at the drop of the hat, right? And if somebody is neurodivergent, you may struggle with this, because it's like, I'm already having trouble trying to like relate to people and fit in. And it's a new trend dropping every day. Don't try to fit in with everything that's going on. You have to find your niche and stay in your lane and do that. Stop trying to switch lanes. Stay in your lane and go at your own pace. Trying to keep up with that is not beneficial. If you're already spinning your wheels, you're eventually going to start burning rubber and burn out. So I think the car is a good analogy, and traffic is a good analogy for this, because we already are wired differently, like I keep saying, and you need to just slow down and just go at your own pace and stay in your own lane. No matter how fast other people are going, no matter how fast they're reaching their destination, you need to stay in your own lane. They might get into an accident on the way. They might not make it to their destination after all. You thinking they make it just because they're going faster than you. They might not make it there alive. So my next tip is to watch out for your blind spot. So this is a touchy one, because I say watch out for your blind spot. And what I mean by that is, like, as a neurodivergent person, somebody on the spectrum, I struggled more with people in my life. And that's backwards. And I feel like this is why there needs to be some type of a change. In my experience, I found myself in dangerous situations, getting caught up with people who meant me harm because I let them too close to me. And this is backwards because society teaches you to talk to everybody and be friendly to everybody and try to fit in and make friends with everybody. So I was that type of person. I don't discriminate really, because your life is your life, and your likes are your likes, and your interests are your interests. As long as you was kind, you know what I'm saying, I didn't really have a problem. It's like, I'm the type of person, I can hang out with anybody. I can have a good time and shoot shit with anybody. But when I found myself doing that, I was in a lot of trouble. It's healthy to have connections with other people, but you need to cultivate connections with the right people. So a lot of time I would find myself getting so excited and I would jump the gun. And as someone on the spectrum, I'm prone to obsession and hyperfixations, especially if like we got some things in common, you know what I'm saying? Because at that point it's like, fuck, I finally feel understood. So now I can ramble on about you know what I'm saying, my extensive knowledge of this esoteric history and metaphysical and spiritual history. So, and it's just like, that got me in so many just hurtful, dangerous situations. Because I'm thinking, oh shit, I finally found a friend. It's safe for me to unmask and talk to somebody. Now I can spill all of my secrets, right? Nah, you really can't. You gotta still watch out for your blind spot. And I say watch out for your blind spot because it's like, if you kind of keep people at an arm's length, as like somebody that's neurodivergent, you can see what's going on and you can kind of still be mindful. I say keep people at an arm's length because when you do that, you can see what's going on right in front of you and you can stay focused and be mindful and present of what's going on. But when people get too close, they start moving too close, right? And they get all up on you like this, they're in your blind spot and you can't really see what's going on. Okay, unless you got that third vision. You feel me? So when people get too close, they're in your blind spot and they can blindside you. So I'm gonna give you a couple examples about stuff like this. So growing up, right? This is how I know I'm highly on the spectrum, and I got an appointment in the morning. I got my second appointment to officially get like diagnosed with autism, because I already know what the outcome is gonna be. He's gonna say, yeah, you're on the spectrum. Just like I already knew that. Because as an adult, I still struggle with friendships. And it baffles me because it's like, why? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm following the rules. I'm outgoing sometimes. I'm kind. And it's just like, I just was not understanding why, as a grown-ass adult, people was bullying me. Like I had, like I'm 35. Like a couple years ago, like people at work was like bullying the hell out of me. The union got involved. Like this dude, basically, this is what I mean by blindsided, right? So this dude at work, I was talking to him. He's gay though. So, you know what I'm saying? We was friends, but we had gotten so close to where we was hanging out, and like after work we would like go to the gym together or whatever. But he blindsided me because I'm thinking we cool or whatnot. When other people came over to the team and started talking to him and got cool with him, he started turning on me because they felt some type of way about me for whatever reason. So it just came out of nowhere because he was acting funny. And then when I confronted him about it, he literally like had like this salt shaker and sprinkled salt on the ground and was like, you're a witch and nobody likes you and all this other stuff. And it's just like, are you serious, bro? And this is why I am very apprehensive to like getting close to people, because people are just, I just feel like weird, for lack of better words. It's like you would think like everything would be fine and dandy and cool, but like people low-key will be judging you the whole time about things that you're saying. People will be judging you about your interests the whole time. So it's just sad. The story I really want to tell you about, backing up now, was when I was younger and I was going into high school. I was hanging out with this girl that lived around the corner from me, but she was popular, right? But like growing up, girl, I didn't care. Like I done got my little sense of style now, but back then I was chubby. I had braces. You know what I'm saying? My mama didn't know how to do my hair for real, and like I used to wear like tall tees, t-shirts, and like sweatpants and like shacks because I didn't care about appearances. Like on top of me being neurodivergent, it's like my father and my mother just did not value superficial things like money and name brand and clothes and stuff like that. Like we valued morals and ethics and being good people. Like we wasn't broke though, because my dad kind of got a name for himself. You see what I'm saying? My dad got money, so it's like I grew up in the suburbs and I had a pool in my backyard, and people would pretend to be my friend just to have access to me and my pool, but they didn't really like me as a person. But they liked me enough to want to like be nice enough and come over and use my pool. And that's why also we have to understand the difference between nice and kind. Because nice, if you look up the definition of nice, let me look that up real quick. It's a difference. Nice means foolish, ignorant, frivolous, senseless, careless, clumsy, weak, poor, needy, simple, stupid, foolish. The sense development has been extraordinary even for an adjective. Nice. The etymology of nice is timid, faint-hearted, fussy, fastidious, dainty, delicate. So people will have these niceties and pretend to get close to you, to use you, but they don't really like you. So that's why I say I'm kind. I'm not nice. I'm not a fool. I'm not stupid. I'm not senseless. I'm not ignorant. I'm not gonna just participate in niceties to get what I want from you. If I don't like you, I don't like you, and that's fine. But I will never get close to you and pretend to like you just to use you or benefit from you in any way. I'm gonna leave you alone, I promise. And that's how I think. But the average person, neurotypicals, don't think like that. They don't think like that. So basically, this girl was pretending to be my friend. And when we got to high school, I was still dressing the way I was dressing because that's how I was raised. You know what I'm saying? My upbringing was, I was not brought up to judge people based on their appearances. I was brought up to judge people based on their character. So it's like when we got to high school, just totally just forgot about my character because she came up to me and was like, I'm gonna have to stop hanging out with you because of the way you dress. And people ask me why I'm hanging out with you. And she was a cheerleader. So that kind of broke my heart. And then at that point, I started to mask. This was 9th grade. I started masking after that. So that's when I got like the Pepe jeans and the Cartiers and the Awasam jackets. Because it's like, don't ever try to play me like I'm lame or like I don't have money because I'm a good person and I got good character. So it's just stupid stuff like that I want to bring awareness to because it's not fair and it's not right. And I feel like we should think about stuff like this in April during Autism Awareness Month. You have to be careful of your blind spot because you have to keep people at arm's length, like I said, to observe them and observe their character first. Y'all might have stuff in common, but don't get too excited. Because in my case, I was so just like lonely and distraught because on top of like my neurodivergencies, bro, My parents was married, got divorced, got remarried, got divorced again. So I grew up in a very unstable household. So with all that fighting and just discord and just incompatibility, I was looking for somebody to finally relate to and be my friend for real. Because my parents was not, listen, I don't want to say they ain't do a good job, but it's like, bro, y'all should have never been together. They should have never been together at all. So I finally found somebody to relate to. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so excited. I got too excited. When you're neurodivergent, you can't get excited too soon. You have to watch out for your blind spot, because people try to get close to you and they will blindside you. You have to kind of observe them first. See the flow of the traffic. Let everybody get in their lane first. Maybe some people that want to come over here and drive in the slow lane with you. But nah, you gotta watch out for them people that be trying to move fast and weave in and out of the lanes. You know what I'm saying? Because it can cause an accident. You can crash. And I got caught up calling people my friend too soon when they weren't my friend at all. Because I'm the type of person, like, when I love you and I care about you, I go hard for people I care about. And I ain't gonna say I get clingy, but I communicate. And I keep up like a regular rapport of communication. And it's just like, I find myself getting so hurt. Because I'm thinking like everything is fine and we friends. And come to find out, people do not care about me at all. This is making me think I'm one of my other best friends that I had, right? And this is I'm about to move on to the next subject, because I'm not about to be on here trauma dumping and trauma bonding, because that's unhealthy. But this has happened to me a lot. I remember this one girl that I used to call my best friend. We grew up in a church together, and we used to hang out all the time and have sleepovers, right? And she was the deacon's daughter, and she was a virgin. And at that point, I was like, what, 15? I wasn't a virgin. I had a boyfriend, right? And she, come to find out, went behind my back, somehow got his number, and lost her virginity to my boyfriend. And she called me on three-way with one of the youth ministers at the time and apologized and was like, oh, I was thinking about you the whole time. And now, like, as an adult, I understand that was jealousy. Because who does something like that? Like, if that's your friend, your best friend, why would you go behind their back and sleep with their boyfriend? So I understand now, I guess that's jealousy, but even me saying that out of my mouth is weird, because it's like, why would anybody be jealous of me? Honestly, I don't comprehend or compute that at all, because I just feel like that's crazy. Like, for what? Aren't you? Are you not you? I feel like jealousy is stupid, and it's just certain stuff as like somebody that's neurodivergent that I don't get, because it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense. It's like, I would never be jealous of nobody ever in my life, and I would never do that to nobody. But apparently, like I said, it's just some things that happen that I guess happen, and it's just like, I don't get it. So I'm gonna tell you this 2 more stories about why you need to watch out for your blind spot, right? So a couple years ago, again at work, when I was still kind of like doing readings, I had this one coworker, right? And she would get readings from me all the time. Like, I'm trying to tell you, she would pay, because I was charged like $30. She would pay me like $30 every month, every 2 weeks for a reading. And this would go on and on and on. She would talk to me all the time at work, at break, blah, 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 blah. Right? To try to get the intel about what was going on with her baby daddy. So one time I made the mistake. And this is how it's like, I don't know. I got to learn about who's really your friend or not. It's really hard for me to discern that. Because I feel like, how can you talk to somebody all the time, every day, be up in their face like that? And then y'all not friends? That's weird to me. So after work, during Christmas break, we got off early. So it was a bar around the corner. Anybody went up to the bar to go get a drink or whatnot. So I went to the bar with her. And basically, long story short, got drunk. Right. And this was irritating because I'm not a sloppy drunk. It's like I'm a polite drunk. So it's like if I'm sick, I might vomit and just call it a day. But I'm not sloppy and irritating. So I'm like, okay, drive me back to my car right here. I'm going to take a nap and go home. So she drove me to my car. I got my car. Took a nap. And eventually went home. So 2 weeks later, when we come back from break, it's just a rumor just going around talking about, I got sick. It's like why does everybody know my business? First off, why are you running your mouth? But apparently, see, this is where the autism kicks in. That's human nature. I guess people just go gossip and talk. I would never do no shit like that. I would keep that type of information confidential because first off, my logic and the way I understand it in my brain, it was only me and her in the car. Nobody saw me get sick. So how do now everybody and their mama know what happened? You see what I'm saying? So basically, she pissed me off and I stopped talking to her. But before that happened, when I was giving her readings, I was telling her, like, look, you might want to, it's some type of paperwork that you need to have because the job is trying to catch you up and fire you, right? So after I hung out with her, my bad, I'm getting the story mixed up. So I did that. I gave her the reading. I picked up on the fact that the job was about to fire her because she didn't have her paperwork under control. But then I had a dream. So before we hung out, I had a dream that basically me and her was hanging out, but she was like, I seen her in the dream and she was just embarrassed. It was like this feeling of embarrassment, basically. So I was asleep and I had a dream that I saw her like in my mind's eye, but it was like this just sense of like embarrassment, right? So I gave her the reading. She was about to basically get fired. I had to dream about her. And then I decided to hang out with her. And then we came back from break and she basically gossiped and told everybody my business. And I kind of basically like iced her out. And I kid you not, about a week later, her ass got fired. She got fired exactly how I said. She got fired exactly how I said. And the dream even came true because when the girl came up to me and spilled the tea, right, to me, after we had came back from break, the girl was like, oh yeah, such and such said you got sick, and her sister was laughing about it and saying, ha ha ha, she can't hold her liquor, blah 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 blah, and that's why we don't hang out with people like her. And I'm like, oh, people like me, huh? But every other day you up in my face trying to get some type of advice or information or intel, right? And that's another reason why I stopped doing readings. Because like I said, you gotta watch out for your blind spot. You'll think you're helping people or you so close to people, but people really don't feel the same way that you feel if you're neurodivergent. They low-key judging you. It's like they admire you but like resent you at the same time because they can't be as authentic and quirky as you are if you're like neurodivergent. You know what I'm saying? And I'm over here, I'm telling her about, oh yeah, my crystals and you should meditate and you know what I'm saying, blah blah blah, this and that. And I was talking about reading books and Harry Potter and stuff like that. She's like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying, I got that for my son and I play that all the time. And I'm thinking, okay, we're relating, we're cool. Nah, she was like low-key hating, and I just didn't like that, and it blindsided me because I don't operate like that at all. The last story I'm gonna share is in regards to my ex, right? And men irritate me because first off, it's like I feel like a lot of the times autistic traits are idealized, but in reality, when reality hits, y'all don't really want to be with somebody like that. And this is why I feel like the show Love on a Spectrum is so special. I want to watch it, but I know I'm gonna cry. So, but it's like men claim to want the quirky girl with the niche hobbies and the free-spirited outlook on life, until she's like socially awkward or embarrasses him or does something silly that's not cool or hot enough for him and his friends, right? And I feel like that's why all of my boyfriends have cheated on me. Is because they idealize me and they idealize my autistic traits, not realizing that, okay, I get overstimulated. I need peace and quiet. I need you to actually be devoted and lock in and be loyal. Because I feel like a lot of people claim they're monogamous, but when I say monogamous, I mean I'm talking to you and you only. I'm not putting all my eggs in different baskets. I'm putting them in one basket. That's monogamy to me. But people, I feel like people do soft monogamy to where they're like single but entertaining different people. And I feel like that's actually more aligned with polyamory more than anything. But people will claim, oh, I'm monogamous because they're single and like dating unseriously. But when I mean monogamy, I mean I'm not dating, I'm not flirting, I'm not having sex with nobody. So you see what I'm saying? I take that seriously. But society will deem it as, oh no, it's like gray areas to certain things, which just messes me up. Because I feel like more people, I feel like the majority of people are polyamorous and they don't want to admit it because in their mind, they want to come off as like morally correct. They don't want to come off as like basically, I can't think of the words, but you know what I'm trying to say. They don't want to come off as a certain way. They don't want to come off as being mean or diabolical or rude or, you know what I'm saying, uncouth. Or so they say they're monogamous, but I feel like a lot of people are actually polyamorous because I could never date more than one person at once. I could never have sex with more than one person at once. I could never be talking to somebody but then be talking to this dude and trying to entertain him and get food from him, but then talking to this other dude and entertaining him and getting money to get my nails done and talking to this dude and entertaining him and going on dates. Like, I can never do that. That's too overstimulating for me. Okay? I cannot do that. So I feel like people, men, will be like, oh shit, I need that in my life. She loyal. She's a good woman. But then when you get close to me and you figure out that I'm serious about what I mean, they don't like that for real. It's a fantasy. And that's where I got Figments of Infatuation from, because when it comes to my love life, I'm just a figment of these men's infatuation. They don't love me for real. And I have never been truly, honestly loved by a man in my life because men idealize women and men do not really, in my experience, genuinely want to get to know women as a person. Like, don't even want to be friends with women for real if it's not going to lead to anything romantic or sexual. And that really makes me sad and depressed sometimes because it's just a struggle for me. Because I'm either getting bullied by women for not being pretty and hot enough and meeting up with those social standards, or men are pretending to be cool with me just so they can hit. So it's like, it's just a struggle. So my ex, he blindsided me because he was just pretending to be my friend and be there for me. We was like seeing each other multiple times a week, playing a video game, sharing dreams, working on art projects together. This man totally blindsided me out of nowhere. About a year ago, it was like right before, it was like Labor Day weekend. I went over there. Now, mind you, like I said, I talked to this man all the time, was having dreams about him all the time. Like, I thought we was locked in friends. No, I could sense something was different in his voice the last time I talked to him because he was going out of town to do this job. Like, he had to shoot a wedding or whatever. But when he was out of town shooting his wedding, I had a dream of him at this wedding. It was an outside wedding. It was me and him at the wedding, and we was together. And then like he ran off to go to the bathroom, and I was holding his stuff, right? So then he came out the bathroom and we found each other again. But then we found each other again. It's like we was kissing, and these fireworks were going off. So then he came back in town, and I'm like, was there fireworks at this wedding that you went to? Guess what he said? Yes. He said yes. Basically, he told me that people had like sparklers. So I guess the guests and whatnot were all holding sparklers as the bride and the groom was like walking around and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, they had sparklers. That's cute. And my fucking silly ass, I'm like, oh, I had a dream about you and I at the wedding. I knew there were going to be fireworks because I had a dream that you and I were kissing at the wedding and there were fireworks going off. And now, even that I'm thinking about it, you know what I think happened? He said that he went with his friend to shoot the wedding, but I low-key think that he was like somebody's wedding date at that wedding. And he ain't telling me that. He made it seem, because he a videographer, so he made it seem like he was going to shoot a wedding, but I feel like he was going on a date. And that was my subconscious, my spirit guides, my angels, my autism, whatever, telling me something was off. So I picked up on the fireworks, and he was just kind of staring at me. He's always just staring at me, because I used to have dreams of him all the time and stuff that he was doing all the time, and he would just stare. Because I feel like neurotypical people, because they just wired the way they wired, they be so just fascinated by like people on the spectrum, because we just got different gifts, okay? We might be tapped into this, tapped into that. So like I said, because people be so fascinated because they can't understand it, because they can't wrap their head around it, they'll just keep you around to try to study you, to try to see what you know, right? Which isn't fair, because at the end of the day, I'm still a human being that's trying to exist just like you are. I don't want to get hurt. But I feel like as neurodivergent people, we have to move certain ways in order to ensure that we're not hurt, because other people are not going to accommodate us. It's human nature to use people. And I don't like that. I do not like that at all. So basically, this man blindsided me because when he came back in town, we hung out for Labor Day weekend. We went out to eat, and then we went back to his house, right? And we watched a movie. And basically, he broke up with me. And that's fine, because I'm not stupid. Of course, you're probably talking to another girl. But what really pissed me off is the fact that, like, he was trying to be nice about it, but at that point, I guess he was just fed up and irritated, and he kind of fucked me up, because I was like, well, we were supposed to work on like some more projects together or whatnot. It fucked me up because he was like, I was like, well, what about the videos, and what about the projects we supposed to do or whatever? And he kind of just got mad and triggered. He was like, I never said I was your friend like that. Because I'm like, we supposed to like still at least be friends. And he's like, friends? You really want to be friends? I never said I was your friend, and that was a lie. And that pissed me the fuck off. And I got that was crazy. That was a crazy night. I'll tell you that much. That pissed me off, y'all. This is why I say you gotta watch out for your blind spot, because you'll be doing the most to try to be everything to somebody else, to try to love them, to be there for them, because as somebody that's neurodivergent, autistic, on the spectrum, you wish somebody would be like that for you. So we're prone to pouring into others the way that we wish society and people will pour into us, and that's dangerous. It's making me emotional. I want to get sad, but it really pissed me off, because like I said, I be having dreams, and the dreams be coming true. So I'm like, oh yeah, you need to do this, do that, da 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 da. I'm thinking we locked in. This man looked me in my face, got pissed off. But this is At this point, he was so tired of pretending and masking and using me, right? This is narcissistic of him. At this point, he had found his new supply, so he discarded me. And that pissed me off because I'm thinking, at least we friends. This man was like, I never said I was your friend, which was some bullshit because he did. But that's at the point to where he was. And I just had to, at that point, I had to go. I got mad, y'all. When he said that, I lost it. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. When he told me that, like, it's one thing, of course, I expect, it's sad at this point that as women, like, we just expect men to cheat. But it's like, I expected that. But what really pissed me off is the fact that he claimed that he wasn't my friend. I lost it. So I said all that to say, watch out for your blind spot. When people get too close, you get blindsided. You get blindsided. So I gotta go find my Bible real quick because my next point is called 3 Times the Charm, and I need my Bible. I had to look because when I read this the first time, I was like, oh yeah. So the next tip that I have, right, is called 3 Times the Charm. And I feel like that might be too many times at this point. 3 times the charm. If you're a neurodivergent on the spectrum, different. Your intuition is your best friend. Pattern recognition is a lifesaver. A lot of times, if you're like neurodivergent on the spectrum, you'll miss social cues because people lie, manipulate, charm, and use sarcasm as a form of humor. So you'll have to pay attention to patterns, right? Or repeated conversations or questions to figure out true intentions. And I want to refer back to the Bible, back to Exodus, back to the story of plagues. When Aaron and Moses was sent in to stop Pharaoh from basically being an asshat, right? So basically Aaron had this miraculous rod, right? Okay? Because they was trying to figure out, is this God or magic? So God sent Aaron and Moses in like, all right, go show them something, Aaron. Take your rod and get them to stop, right? So basically, this says, then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, when Pharaoh speaks to you saying, show a miracle for yourselves, then you shall say to Aaron, take your rod and cast it before Pharaoh and let it become a serpent. So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did so just as the Lord commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants and became a serpent. But Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, so the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. For every man threw down his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he did not heed them, as the Lord had said. So then the first plague started, and the waters became blood. So Lord told Moses again, look, Pharaoh's heart is hard. He refuses to let the people go. Go over there and go to the water, and the rod which was turned into a serpent, and say to him, let the people go so they can serve me. And basically God was like, all right, I'm going to use you, and I'm going to have this miracle performed. And that should convince Pharaoh, right? God said, behold, I will strike the waters which are in the river with the rod that is in my hand, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that are in the river shall die, the river shall stink, and the Egyptians will loathe to drink the water of the river. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, say to Aaron, take your rod and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over their streams, over their rivers, over their ponds, and over all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and there shall be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in the buckets of wood and pitchers of stone. And Moses and Aaron did so, just as the Lord commanded. So he lifted up the rod and struck the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants. And all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood, right? So, of course, Pharaoh, with his arrogant self, called his magicians. Then the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments. And Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he did not heed them as the Lord had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house because he was not impressed. He was like, okay, yeah, y'all can turn the water into blood, but I got these magicians and sorcerers that can do the same thing, so I'm not impressed. Whatever. I don't believe it's God because I have people that can do the same thing. So he wasn't impressed. His heart wasn't moved. And basically, you know what I'm saying? Everything went back to the way that it was, and Pharaoh didn't let the people go. So God said for the third time, okay? So then after that, God sent in the second plague of frogs, right? So he was like, okay, again, go to Pharaoh, tell them to let the people go. If you refuse to let them go, I'm gonna smite the territory with frogs, right? So the Lord spoke to Moses and said to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your rod over the streams and the rivers and the ponds and cause frogs to come up on the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. Like, this is God. And the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs on the land of Egypt also. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and my people, and I will let them go, that they may sacrifice to the Lord. So Pharaoh was like, all right, I don't want these frogs all over the place. So I'm going to lie to them and tell them, all right, get rid of the frogs, and I'm going to let the people go. So Moses was like, all right, I'll do it. Long story short, he didn't do it. He reneged. Okay? He reneged. And Moses cried out to the Lord concerning the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. So the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses. Right? But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and did not heed them as the Lord had said. Right? So Pharaoh tricked them the second time. And even though Moses and them kept their word and called off the plague of frogs, Pharaoh still didn't let the people go. So the third time, this is why I say 3 times a charm. This is the third time. This is the third plague of lice. So the Lord said again to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out your rod and strike the dust of the land so that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and struck the dust of the earth, and it became lice on man and beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Now, right, the magicians so worked with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice on man and beast. Then the magician said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. But Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he did not heed them, just as the Lord had said. And this is why I say 3 times a charm. This is why I don't believe in coincidences. This is why pattern recognition as somebody who's neurodivergent on the spectrum is so important, because, like I said, in this 3D reality, we look at it as pattern recognition. But low-key, that's God looking out for you by giving you these coincidences to pay attention to, right? Because it didn't take but 3 times for the false prophets and the sorcerers and the magician to recognize the finger and the power of God. It didn't take them but 3 times to recognize what was going on. Like, oh, lice, frogs, you turn the water into blood. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just tap out. This is God. Pharaoh, you can go ahead and have at it. It don't take but 3 times. And this is why that's an idiom in the first place. This is why this is the saying, 3 times a charm. When I read this, I'm like, oh. So this is where 3 times a charm came in at. Because after this, Pharaoh was still being stubborn, and it was still like 4 more plagues after this because of his stubbornness. But at that point, after the 3rd time, people recognized God was in the midst. So it's someone that's neurodivergent and autistic, After a certain amount of times, you need to recognize what's really going on. Recognize when God is in the midst. It don't take you but 3 times. It don't take you but 3 times. I had a note about this passage. I'm going to read it. It says, you can have supernatural authority and power through Satan and Lucifer, but it is just a trickster spirit and an illusion, an imitation of God's true ultimate power. God's supernatural authority supersedes and swallows up Satan's and makes it look pathetic and miserable in comparison. Sorcerers and demonic powers are jealous of God's strength because they cannot compare to it, control it, or harness it, right? God's power makes egomaniacs stubborn, jealous, defiant, and stupid. You can prove yourself over and over again. You can show people how real God is, right? As somebody that's neurodivergent, you can love people and be kind and be as pure-hearted as you can. Okay? You can warn people in His name. You can tell them dreams, show them visions, give them divine confirmation, and it won't matter because their hearts are hardened to God. Their hearts will be hardened to you because of resentment, right? And softened to evil because of revenge. So it's like I said, people, it's like want something kind of like God, but not God, right? So I feel like this is also in regards to like neurodivergent people. It's like they want kind of neurodivergent, but not like the full thing. Like they don't really, but they want the traits, but not the actual person behind it, the power behind it, okay? I said people will see your anointing, right, and use you through God to work on their behalf and serve their evil agendas, right? That's in regards to like Pharaoh saying, okay, well, get rid of the frogs and I'll let the people go. So it's like Pharaoh was like, okay, I see the power of God. Cool. Take the frogs away. I'll let the people go. He didn't. So I said people will see your anointing and use you through God to work on their behalf and serve their evil agendas. Then when their agenda is fulfilled, right, and your prayers have worked on their behalf, right, or your attention or your love or your friendship or whatever you're offering has worked on their behalf, they will discard you and go back on their word. At some point, the strongest magicians, right, the strongest narcissists, the great pretenders, the fake friends, the frenemies, the toxic family members, the narcissistic boyfriends and girlfriends, at some point, the strongest magicians fold under the finger of God and must recognize God's workings. And I feel like that's another reason why my ex, he was kind of like, all right, I never said I was your friend. Because at that point, it's like his spirit was folding to everything that I was telling him. The dreams, the visions. It's like his spirit folded. Like, all right, I can't keep up this facade no more. It's something special. It's something different. And it's like, I can't keep operating like this. So at some point, they will fold under the finger of God. I said, God will give chance after chance and sign after sign and warning upon warning to stop doing evil. Workers of iniquity will use the chosen ones so that they can intercede for them to God in order to buy themselves time so they can do more evil, right? So a lot of times, as I said, like men will just stay with you because they ain't got nobody else yet. But then when they get somebody else, that's when they discard you because they don't need you anymore. 3 times the charm. It only takes 3 times to recognize, acknowledge, and submit to God. Anything other than that is deceit. Fool me once, shame on you. God will give you many chances to redeem yourself before extreme measures are taken. But extreme measures usually result in death because death is a complete cleansing and transmutation. So that was just like a tangent I had to go on real quick because when I read that story of the plagues, I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, after the third plague, even the magicians was like, all right, I'm tapping out. I'm done. Because at this point, this is God. God is in the midst. So I feel like if somebody that's neurodivergent, if somebody keeps doing something, treating you a certain way, You have to pay attention to that and realize after the third time, it's not an accident. That's who they really are. Okay? That's who they really are. It only really takes 3 times. The next tip I have is don't wear a mask. Wear a veil. A mask hides you, but a veil preserves and protects your divinity. A veil is representative of the purity, innocence, and modesty of the subject, right? Masks can offer protection, but are still deceiving and harmful to wear. So my mask used to be like, I used to have like this outrageous alternative style, right? But that ended up working against me because it ended up overstimulating me and drawing attention to me that I didn't really want. But I was just using it as a way to kind of rebel and express myself. But it ended up working against me in the long run because I ended up being overstimulated, right? Don't wear a mask or wear a veil. Find a constructive way to express yourself. If your method starts working against you, it's become destructive, right? So with me wearing like the collective outfits, it was making me more prone to bullying, which was like besides the point. Like I was doing it to express myself, but it was really drawing more attention from bullies. So I stopped because it started to become destructive. Unfortunately, people are very shallow and treat pretty people better. And this is only because of social hierarchies, because it's like, why would you treat somebody that you deem attractive better? Like, what reason is there for that? Unless you think that you can use this said pretty person to look better, become more attractive yourself, or attract more opportunities, you know what I'm saying, into your life for whatever reason. So a lot of this stuff is just disingenuous. I said being alternative became too overstimulating at the end of the day. Something simple and cute is enough. I got tired of dealing with all the buttons and belts and buckles and colors and contacts. I realized I wasn't expressing myself and that I was just using it as an excuse to mask myself even further. So that's kind of why I just went back to kind of like this, because I was wearing a mask. It's okay to wear a veil because I feel like that's an indication of like your innocence, your purity. But do not mask. Wear a veil. Let people know that you're worthy of honor and reverence. Like, hold yourself in high esteem. Put your veil on. Honor your divinity. But don't mask it though. My next tip is, whatever you do, do not get mad at God for making you the way that you are. You are special. You are different. You are wired differently for a reason. Whatever you do, do not get mad at God. God is the only one who has ever had my back. Ever. I don't care how silly I look talking to myself, walking around praying. I have always had an imaginary friend. But now that I'm older, I realize that was me talking to my higher self, talking to the Holy Spirit, talking to God. God is the only one who has ever had my back, who has never let me down. God has really given us a lot of grace with the free will that we have, because God has a plan for our life, right? But just imagine, in the grand scheme of things, if we was just a slave to that plan. So it's really gracious that we have the free will to learn and experience and, you know what I'm saying, humbly find our way back to source, back to God. But whatever you do, if you're neurodivergent, I feel like you have to kind of believe in something greater than you. It only makes sense to, because this world is not for us. This world does not make sense to us. And I feel like that's why a lot of us get caught up in religion and spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Because this world just does not make sense. It's like the only thing that does make sense is God. My next tip is to have hope, not expectations. In my experience, friendships do not come easily or genuinely. People claim that they want you to be yourself until you become an inconvenience, until you're loud, silly, stimming, and rocking back and forth to soothe your nervous system. Listen, I'm a shake and I'm a rock. And a lot of times, I'm trying to calm down and just regulate, but that bothers people for whatever reason. As someone on a spectrum, you have to realize that the world generally is not as sensitive, does not think of things in the same way as you, and is not moved as deeply as you. You more than likely take things very literally. Excuse me. You more than likely take things very literally because you're serious about them, while most people are talking to be polite. Most times, this leads to dead end connections, which may send you into a spiral and a cycle of burnout from trying to put so much effort into meeting new people you can connect with. This is especially daunting if you suffer from social anxiety as it is. Don't get too sad and try not to take it personal. Most people do not function the way you do and perceive you as a threat because of it. Expecting anything from anyone in a world where we already aren't valued is extremely dangerous. Hope for the best, but don't expect anything from anyone other than yourself. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're still better off being yourself despite the challenges you face. And this is why I said veil. Do not mask. This is why I said slow down and don't try to keep up, because people resent you for being different despite them pretending like they don't. People pretend like they're not bothered, like it's fine, but if they had it their way, they would shut you out, close the doors, ostracize you, be mean. So you just have to kind of come to terms with that and learn to have hope, but not expectations. Because people just do not feel and love as deeply as you do. And then my last kind of tip is, after all of that, how to find yourself again after you lose your marbles. After you pick up the marbles and put them back on the board to start playing again, you have to factory reboot. I did like a factory reboot. Right. So that's why I stopped doing the readings. That's why I went back to journaling. That's why I went back to riding my bike. That's why I started picking up roller skating again. I returned to myself. I factory rebooted, because this world really tries to program you. Okay. So I basically deprogrammed myself and went back to basics. And I started to keep it simple. When I say factory reboot, you want to think about who you are without the influence. If there weren't influencers, if there weren't trends, if there weren't TikToks, okay, if there weren't viral videos, who would you be without all of that? What do you like to do? Why do you want to be alive? For me, I want to be alive because I want to write books. I like to create. As sensitive as I am, as anxious as I get when I go outside, I force myself to do it. But I learned to do it in increments. So another thing I want to start doing is going to open mics again. But I'm not going to go all the time. I might go once a month. I'm slowly getting back to the things that I used to like to do. You have to ask yourself what you spent your free time doing as a child. What would you do for the rest of your life if you had the means to do so? What brings you a sense of excitement like no other? What do you actually look forward to? What are some things you like to do as a child that you like to revisit? And think about those things and revisit them. And I feel like the most important thing that we can do as, people on the spectrum, people that are neurodivergent, is honor our inner child. Because I feel like a lot of the times we didn't really have a chance to be a child. And I feel like that's a very important factor for, your health as somebody that's on the spectrum. People might force you to grow up and fit in and do this and do that. But at the end of the day, you might not be able to do the stereotypical grown-up things. Like me, like I said, I'm 35. I don't have kids. I don't think I could ever handle having a kid. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I think about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so cute and beautiful. Like I've always fantasized and dreamt of like having twins, right? Like I would love like identical twins. I just think that's cute. Like that's cool. It's like, how did you like clone yourself? Like that's so special to me. Like, right? I got excited. I snorted. But it's like, that's a lot to deal with. I will be so tired and so burnt out and stressed out and irritated all the time. And then we factor in all the stuff going on right now between men and women and just my family history and the fact that I don't have no support system. Like I said, the only person that I got is God and these two cats right here. So it would be a disservice to try to tell me I need to grow up or try to force me to act a certain stereotypical way by now. Because it's like, I'm 35. I don't feel like it though. I'm grown. I'm independent. I take care of myself. I pay my own bills. I got a good job. I work 5 days a week. I got my own side business, side hustles. I write. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm doing a lot as it is, and I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm hard on myself sometimes. I feel like I can do better, but I'm at a point to where it's like I'm rebooting. And a big part of that reboot was basically honoring my inner child again. Because I was trying to do the grown up thing for so long, right? And that was just not working for somebody like me. Despite my age, despite what I look like, it's just certain things that are not going to work for me. And I feel like as somebody that's neurodivergent, if I'm assuming so, if you're watching this video too, it's certain things that's not going to work for you. And that's okay. And you have to honor that. So I think that's all. I'm going to try to edit this video so it makes sense because I was doing a lot of rambling and I was all over the place, but I'm going to get it together. Thanks for holding space for me. And I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you next time in my next video. I'm getting ready to release my next single. It's called That Girl. And she comes out on April 10th, 2025. So Um, I would really appreciate it if you would listen to my song, add it to your playlist, work out to it, whatever. Um, because I work hard. And it would mean a lot to me. It would mean so much if you checked out my song and check out my art. Speaking of art, I got my song coming out and I'm almost done formatting my book. So I had to take care of some stuff on the back end, but that's all taken care of. So now I can just grind and put out my stuff. So look out for my book, Serendipity, shortly after my song releases. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.